So it is 12 o'clock, so we're just going to get started. Dr. Melanie Barham is usually the facilitator for these calls, but she had a last-minute conflict, so I'll be facilitating today. I'm Christy House. I'm the soon-to-be manager of Welfare and Identification at Equestrian Canada. So welcome to the Equestrian Canada National Health and Welfare Call. The purpose of these monthly calls is to share important information on disease and other health and welfare-related topics within the equine stakeholders in Canada. These calls are recorded, and the recordings are posted on the EC website. So we hold all questions until the end, as some people are not comfortable with their questions being posted, so we tend to edit them out at the end. I ask now that you please mute your line, as our first speaker, Dr. Cheryl James from the CAS Network, is going to give an update.
Hi, Cheryl here. Keith was not able to join us today, so I'm going to give the update for both the equine surveillance part and also for the CAS in general part. So under the equine surveillance, or CAS, just to let you know, we are moving forward. One of the important items that they had requested was better information on notifiable disease, and we approached the Council of Chief Veterinary Officers quite some time ago to ask if they would be willing to share information on notifiable disease. They raised a number of concerns, and we followed up with a survey to better identify those concerns. We've compiled the results of that. One of the things that's coming out very loud and clear is case definitions. They want to standardize things across the country before they report, because they feel there'll be too much difference. Can't really compare apples and oranges. So we're going to go back to them with the results of that survey and with the response to the concerns they were raised, and we are also working very hard on case definitions. I think the working group on case definitions has finalized 4, and they are working on another 5 right now. We are going to go back to the CCVO with those case definitions, and I think what we'll end up with is under CAS, we will post a national recommended case definition. I think it's overly optimistic to get everybody to adopt it, but we'll say that, when we want to report on information, this is a case definition we would like to use. The other thing on case definitions is we have recently reached out to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, APHIS, Animal and Plant Health Information Services, Inspection Services, and talked to their surveillance group there in Fort Collins, and they are willing to share their case definitions with us as well. So we're going to look at seeing if we can take some of those case definitions and harmonize across the Canada-U.S. border, which we hope will facilitate movement of equines. And I have to say that the work that this group is doing is focused on equines right now, but they are really charting a path for all of the other species groups. So we would look to expand this to other groups. And the next big project that we've been working on is an equine stakeholder map, and I think we're down to the final draft on that map. We have a full equine network meeting coming up. We will review the map at that meeting, and hopefully people will approve it, and then we will be posting it on the CAS website. And that map is really to outline all the groups that may be involved in equine surveillance, whether they're horse owners or people that are providing services to the horse industry from provincial government or professional services, and what other networks are out there. So, and then drilling down to the provincial level as well. So we hope to have that posted early in the new year, in April. So if I could just move on to CAS in general, the Canadian Animal Health Surveillance System. We are compiling action plans for all of our network groups, and just for your information, there's besides equine, we have poultry, swine, beef cattle, dairy cattle, wildlife, antimicrobial usage surveillance, and we are moving to have a formal aquaculture workshop early in the new year. So we're looking at the action plans from all of those groups, and we're going to try and integrate them because there are some common themes that are coming from all the network groups, some things that all the network groups want, or many of the network groups want, and we'll be able to. What we're thinking we'll do is we'll raise them up to a higher level and attack them at sort of a network of networks level rather than each species group trying to manage too many things on their own. And that will also help us, that will also feed into a setting of national surveillance priorities. So this is something that our directors group in CAS would like to lead the way on coming up with some recommended national priorities. So we'll build on what the action plans are saying from the network groups, and we will add to that. We are also looking at transitioning management of CAS and to the National Farmed Animal Health and Welfare Council. We will be holding a vote with all of our owning members under CAS to make sure that they are in agreement with this transition, but it really was an initiative of the council. The coordination and support role has been made available from CFIA and Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada on an interim basis just to get things moving forward. And I think we're at a place now where we can transition out under the council, and which is, again, as a FedProv industry advisory council. So it would make sense that it would fit better there than within a federal government department. The other thing that's happening under CAS is we've got a small project running right now with poultry industry in Alberta to have a look at integrated data systems and how those systems, the power of those systems to really provide very useful information to all stakeholders. We've invited a few people from the Equine Surveillance Network out west to sit in on that meeting because this was something that was raised at our initial workshop for equines. That this is something that several people had expressed interest in, that they would like to move to integrated data systems. So we've invited a few people there. Melanie Barham will be joining us at that meeting. So they'll have an opportunity to have a look at how this functions within the poultry sector and to have some discussion on how this might have potential benefits for the equine sector as well. So I think that's about all I had to say. Are there any questions from anybody?
Sorry, Cheryl, we're just going to hold questions till the end so they can be edited out if needed.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you very much for your update. So I'm going to provide an update on behalf of Melanie Barham, the chair of the Equestrian Canada Health and Welfare Committee, on just a few of the initiatives we've been working over the last month. So we've had several discussions around the rules on nose band tightness across all disciplines, vaccination requirements at sanctioned shows, and EIA testing requirements at sanctioned shows. When these rules are available for comment, we will share them on this call as well as through the regular channels. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact myself, Christy House, at khouse@equestrian.ca. In regards to the Equine ID product or Equine ID project, we're moving forward with a request for proposals for the database, as well as discussions with the CFIA on their requirements for equine ID database. We're participating in the Canadian Animal Health Surveillance System workshop in Calgary on real-time data systems to help inform our decisions when we start to move forward with a database. In regards to disease reporting, March 1st, EC reported to stakeholders on their mailing list that a new case of EIA had been diagnosed. This was also posted on social media. Receiving these reports as they happen has been a positive outcome from the Canadian Animal Health Surveillance System, and we hope to build on this success, as well as reporting other diseases as they happen. With numerous outbreaks of equine herpes mellitus in multiple sectors and states across the U.S., this is an important process to improve in Canada. To do this, we need cooperation from provincial, industry, and federal partners. The goal is to communicate these disease issues quickly with factual information. Support for the Canadian Animal Health Surveillance System. EC has sent a letter of support for CAS, and the work is being done to improve the communications on equine disease in Canada. The organization will also be sending a letter to the PTSOs requesting their support. We encourage any other organization or individual in Canada to do the same. The letter of support will be posted on the EC website when it's finalized. Next to the recording, and you can email Christy, again, myself, khouse@equestrian.ca. We have a couple of biosecurity workshops that are going to be held online, April 14th and 15th. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. They'll each be 1.5 hours in length. The April 14th workshop will be for veterinarians with boarded interest, workshop for veterinarians delivered by Dr. Jin Yin Tan from the University of Calgary. The 1.5-hour workshop will provide veterinarians with an easy system to build practical biosecurity plans with clients, event operators, facility managers alike. Even if you're experienced with biosecurity, it's an excellent review of the systematic approach. The webinars are free and will also be posted online afterwards. The April 15th workshop for equine facility owners, managers, and event operators with boarded internist Dr. Ashley Whitehead from the University of Calgary, also 1.5 hours in length, will provide participants with practical biosecurity plans. We will be building a plan during this workshop, so be prepared to work. The webinar is free and will be posted online afterwards. In coming years, we're going to be proposing that all sanctioned shows have biosecurity plan as well as emergency action plan, and this is an excellent opportunity to receive free training on this. Stay tuned as we'll have some social media contests on the topic of biosecurity with some excellent prizes. So generic resources for posters and biosecurity emergency action plans and posters for horse events to use are in the works of being developed and will also be made available on our website. Communication tools for the coming changes to antibiotic regulations has been developed by the Health and Welfare Committee. As of December 1st, all antibiotics will require a vet prescription. A letter has been sent to the PTSOs requesting their help with communicating these issues to equine owners in their provinces. We are working on some easy-to-share social media posts to help explain the importance of getting a valid VCPR, veterinary client-patient relationship, and a plan to access antibiotics if you're in a remote area. So again, we'll hold questions till the end. And Miki, are you on the line for the Horse Welfare Alliance of Canada update?
Yes, yeah.
All right.
The survey? Yep.
Yep.
So last year we ran a project surveying people on awareness, compliance to the Code of Practice. Let's see. The survey focused on two main questions: are you aware of the code, and what is the level of compliance to the requirements within the code? The initial survey we did had 2,800. We received 2,800 responses to, and with only 58% indicating that they are aware of the code. So we felt that was quite low because of the people that we targeted on for the survey. Let's see. Then from the initial survey, we identified a need for a second survey So the second survey offered more in-depth look at some more open-ended questions. And we sent it to anyone in the first survey who was interested in and said that they would participate further. So all these people were actually aware of the code. So we just wanted to dig in a little deeper on what they felt or how they felt they were in compliance with the code. And did they truly understand the requirements that were being offered? So the survey we built quite a database of people that the survey was being sent out to. It went out to through associations across Canada, as well as directly to clubs and individuals across the country. It's, as you all understand, it's a difficult audience to reach because of the people that are not connected to groups. So we felt that the 2,800 was a good representation on the initial survey. So in conclusion, really, from the end of this project, we find that there really is a lack of awareness of the equine code, that there is people are having troubles interpreting what the requirements are and if they fall into compliance with those requirements. So we find that there is a need for education, awareness, as we start moving forward towards a on-farm animal care assessment tool in the equine industry. So these tools are being developed and used by other industries, other livestock industries, just to prove, to show that that we do have systems in place and that the animals are being cared for. And that is exactly what the code is for, is just, a tool that we can use to reinforce that we are taking care of our animals and that there are standards to which we need to care for our animals. The information collected through the surveys is also going to be used to assist with the review of the code, which is to happen this year in 2018. And we're going to work towards developing gathering more information as we come closer to the update of the code, which is scheduled for 5 years down the road from now. So the reports are available by request. If you email me, I can send those out to you, and my email address is design@declercq.ca, and that's DECLERCQ.ca. So I think that's all I have. I just want to also just say thank you to Growing Forward for contributing to this project, and also to the industry people who brought money to the project, which included Harness Racing BC, Horse Council BC, NARIC, Capri Insurance, Equestrian Canada, and the Canadian Quarter Horse Association. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Missy. Julie, if you wanted to give your update on the Equine Guelph Symposium.
I will, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for having me today. My name is Julia Alibrand, and I'm a third-year student at the University of Guelph, studying Bachelor of Bioresource Management with a major in equine management. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'll be presenting the summary of the 2018 Equine Industry Symposium that was held at the university in February. I was lucky enough to be part of the students involved in the execution of the very first symposium in 2016, and firmly believing in the purpose of this conference, I needed to be part of this inaugural event again. As a result, I joined the organizing committee, otherwise consisting of Dr. Katrina Merkes, who's a University of Guelph professor, researcher, and a faculty advisor of the BBRM program, Dr. Peter Physick-Sheard, who's an OVC professor and researcher, Dr. Jeff Thomason, also an OVC professor and researcher, Jonathan Smith, the Ontario Agricultural College Associate Dean, Teresa Rondevouk, who's a program manager at the university, Gail Ecker, Director of Equine Guelph, and Dr. Melanie Barham, who's an animal health coordinator. Also involved in the organization and execution were second-year undergraduate students, Taryn Oliver, Marissa Zerboni, and Natalie Joseph. I'm very delighted to present the summary of this conference today, and the summary was prepared by Dr. Peter Physick-Sheard. The summary of both the 2016 and the 2018 symposium can also be available in full length on the University of Guelph webpage. Everyone involved in the equine industry, be it as an owner, competitor, facility manager, trainer, coach, official, recreational rider, or any of the myriad of other roles, faces both daily and long-term challenges in sustaining their particular equine pursuits. Those responsibilities, including routine care of the horse, often have an immediacy that monopolizes our attention and obscures our view of the big picture. In fact, underlying our focused engagement, there are themes that are more common to all of us, and they require our collective attention. At stake are both the welfare and well-being of the horse, as well as the long-term health and growth of our industry in all sectors. First among these themes, of course, is the horse, and ultimately it's all about the horse. And it is also about the issues that affect all of us, such as how we recruit young people to join us with their youthful energy and ideas for the future, how we build support for our industry among those presently in our periphery, and about how we build standards into our industry to keep us abreast of legislation, societal expectations, best evidence-based practices, and fiscal realities. Better yet, how do we get ahead and lead rather than react or follow, and how do we stay ahead? Discussing these issues is something in which we can all engage, and that's exactly what the equine industry is all about, coming together and sharing ideas to identify collective solutions. We had an attendance of 112 industry members at the second Equine Industry Symposium that was held in February, and they represented many different sectors of the industry. With so many passionate and committed minds working together, positive outcomes for youth, horses, and our industry were guaranteed. In the morning, facilitator Akash Maharaj provided the introduction to the event with a very powerful message. The statistics from the 2010 Equestrian Canada Equine Industry Profile show that the equine industry contributes about $20 billion to Canada's GDP and well over 500,000 in full-time equivalent positions. This puts the equine industry significantly ahead of the dairy industry in terms of both contribution to GDP and full-time equivalent positions. However, the dairy industry has considerably more influence in government decision-making and consumer interest. The figures that represent the equine industry are shocking to political figures, and even more so to those involved in the equine industry itself, where our discipline-divided structure does not provide the opportunity for holistic viewing. Because we underestimate the strength of our own industry, we do not provide a unified voice to the country's decision-makers and so lose out on the chance to truly impact our own future. To add to the lack of an industry-wide view, the equine industry is facing a severe decline in young people, energizing it with fresh energy and ideas. The average age of an adult equestrian in Canada has continued to increase to the current 60 to 69 age bracket, while the percent of equestrians in their 20s, 30s, or even in their 40s continues to diminish. Our industry is literally galloping towards a demographic precipice. And unless we do something today, our industry will collapse in a mere 25 years. So how do we expose young people to horses, spark their interest, engage their minds, and make them feel welcome and safe? How do we promote the growth and engagement of young people whose recruitment has led to sustained interest and involvement? And how do we ensure that engaged, talented young people have a path to achieve the professional satisfaction needed to sustain their involvement and to make them leaders who want to help others do the same? So at this event, we have the opportunity to join forces, to work together with others who have gathered there for the love of the horse, and to build common ground and partnership to encourage renewed efforts at recruitment, engagement, and succession for our industry. So following this introduction by Akash, 6 speakers provided the audience with a supplemental information to stimulate points for discussion for the afternoon session of the conference. The summaries of these presentations can also be found on the webpage. We had Dr. Heather Rainey, who spoke on research findings on engaging and retaining youth in activities. Her presentation was followed by Axscape representative Jenny Mayer, who brought to us information about the incorporation of youth engagement through the school system. We had Kim Leslie from the Canadian Pony Club presenting the findings, the we in the I generation. And Tracy McElray from Ontario Equestrian spoke on the topic of youth engagement through industry initiatives. David Reynolds from INAC Services providing some insight into tax benefit opportunities for engaging youth in equine careers. And the final presentation was by the Director of Equine Guelph and the Equine Industry Symposium Organizing Committee member, Gail Ecker, who presented the power of partnership. Following these presentations in the morning, the afternoon provided the opportunity for attendees to contribute to ideas and actions through roundtable discussions centered on the 3 themes of recruitment, engagement, and succession. Attendees discussed their big idea during the breakout session, developing actionable items which were presented to the large group at the end of the breakout session. Following these presentations, the following summary was compiled by reviewing the frequency in which ideas and particular words appeared in the discussion table summaries by participants, and by reflecting on conversations around the tables and with individual delegates. Through this process, certain common issues and concerns became apparent. These were not confined to any of the themes discussed, but they were encountered in all three. On the basis of the frequency of occurrence and commonality, and because all three have a bearing on the issue of recruiting and retaining young people, they've been included in the summary. Here's what each and every one of us can do to facilitate change within our industry. Emphasize the concept of community and community engagement. Within the industry, share, network, collaborate freely, and openly disseminate knowledge and engage, promoting young, talented, motivated individuals, creating a sense of belonging and inclusion that will foster common vision and purpose and a forward-looking approach. Within the local community, increase engagement by involving parents and the entire family in social initiatives that emphasize the versatility of the horse, inclusivity, community, and life skills development. We should increase networking opportunities and improve communication within and across the industry by creating a professional association of facility owners to identify common issues, discuss solutions, to network and to promote action based on evidence and professionalism. Develop a clearance center to share resources locally and regionally, including knowledge to promote specific skills and the development of standards and their maintenance. View and promote the mentorship and participation of future potential industry members and view them beyond their activities as equestrians. Address issues of cost, accessibility, and safety when new participants show an interest in the horse, while emphasizing the benefits, including the versatility and the role involvement can play in the development of life skills. Promote the gathering, dissemination, and accessibility of knowledge and the adoption of evidence-based approaches throughout the industry as an issue of great importance. Develop a unified educational presence by holding a national meeting on education every 3 years and annual regional meetings, and develop a digital web social media presence in our industry education. Get evidence-based discussion about the horse into schools by forming partnerships and engaging formally. Providing mentorship opportunities by connecting together those who want to teach and those who want to learn, perhaps through a structured internship program, and identifying and promoting the development of life skills. And finally, promoting the development and adoption of industry standards and their maintenance to identify and promote the development of special skills. So the consistency of these issues might be of particular importance since it speaks to the idea that the difficulty the industry has in recruiting, motivating, and retaining young people has to do with far more than how the industry treats youth or thinks about their involvement. Rather, it speaks to the idea that the industry has little sense of direction, is fractionated, and lacking in vision. As a consequence, it does not provide for young people a sense of security, continuity, or future options. It doesn't fill them with the confidence they need to consider the industry as a career choice. And this failure, or more specifically, this recognition, might be the most notable outcome of this year's symposium. And while it's important that we recognize these weaknesses that were so clearly identified by all of our participants throughout the conference, we as the organizing committee want to utilize this knowledge as motivation to continue growing this conference, both in attendance and in efficiency, to generate a multitude of actionable deliverables in the years to come. Maharaj summed up the day with a phrase that I would like to share with you today. He said, "I am somebody." Each and every one of us is important to the equine community, and each of us can take a small step or a large step or a series of steps to influence the direction our industry will take. We will succeed together or we will fail apart. The planning for the next Equine Industry Symposium is well underway. Look very much forward to hearing reports on progress that was made and new partnerships that were formed to work together amongst industry sectors to promote and sustain our equine industry. And this completes the summary. Again, thank you for your time and having me today. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yves, if you wanted to go ahead with your update.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if Shauna's on the line. My first information goal was to introduce Shauna Kern-Cooper, who is the new Equestrian Canada Equine Medication Committee coordinator, and is basically the point person for all equine medication issues at EC now. Shauna has been on board since December. She's very, very aptly filled some, again, large shoes very quickly. As some of you may know, we had several staffing changes we had two major staffing changes during 2017, which affected a little bit the delivery of the program. We had one sudden departure in March and another one in October for basically personal reasons, but the one in March obviously was a difficult time because the testing program was just starting, and that gap had to be filled internally by other EC staff members. So that did, as we'll see, affect the delivery of the program early on in the season. But I now can say that I feel we're on a very strong and good track with Shauna in place, and hopefully we go from here. So to summarize, my first idea was to summarize a little bit what we did in 2017. And the numbers are that 185 out of 571 competitions were tested, which is 32%, compared to 41% in 2016, a 232 number, and 55%. 2014, 2015 were high numbers. We were at 55 and 59%. So obviously this shows, again, confirms, the early part of the season was a little more difficult. Number of horses selected for testing was 1,200 in 2017, 1,201, of which 912 produced a sample, with 289 horses having to be abandoned because they didn't produce a urine sample and there was no veterinarian on the ground to take a blood sample. So I think this is a ongoing situation. The presence of veterinarians at competition, which also relates to the health and welfare issue, it's a parallel issue, but a recurring one for us. Obviously, and this is more problematic at lower end shows as opposed to gold shows. So number of horses tested, 1,200 versus 1,700, and in 2016, which was the highest ever number for our program. So I'm confident that we can, this year with steady coordinating, we can reach those numbers again. If we look at, we have guidelines, as some of you may know, that we test approximately 30% of bronze shows, 40% of silver shows, and 60% of golds, 60 to 70% of golds, and we achieved 37 for bronze, 38 for silvers, and 65 for gold. So we were pretty much on track with that. Difficulty with the bronze shows is the timeline at which they register with EC to say they're going to be happening, or last minute cancellation. So it's difficult to schedule them because we don't quite know when they're going to happen, and then all of a sudden they're on and we have to reschedule a technician to go there. So it's difficult that way with the bronze level shows, but we're working on to trying to control that a little better. In terms of permissible medication, this is always interesting information. There were 151 out of the 900 samples or so that had a permitted medication, most of which were NSAIDs. So we had 64 samples with phenylbutazone, 48 with flunixin, 30 with thyrocoxib, 8 with ranitidine, and 1 with cimetidine. 0 with Ultranagest, so 0 Regumates. And the NSAIDs amount to about 15% of the samples, showing one NSAID, which is basically a recurring figure. It's always between 15 and 17% of samples that show one NSAID being present. So that's roughly the statistics for last year. If we look at the positive cases we had, there were 9 positives in 2017. 2 were for Thyrocoxib in endurance horses, which is not, the exception to the rule is endurance where NSAIDs are not permitted because obviously of the nature of the competition and the potential side effects on dehydrated and, metabolically challenged horses. Medroxyprogesterone, we had 2 down from 7 last year, so that was a positive step. Clenbuterol 1, ephedrine pyrilamine 1, which is basically an antihistamine, dextrofen, which is a cough medicine, codeine 1, and 1 acepromazine. So for a total of 9. They were spread evenly across the country. There were 4 in BC, 1 in Manitoba, 3 in Ontario, 1 in New Brunswick, and 2 at bronze level, 2 at silver, 3 at gold, and 2 at platinum. So those were the basic general statistics for last year. The committee held its face-to-face meeting in December. Again, Shauna was there and quickly filled in what the duties were. We had we select the competitions to be tested by a committee which is made up of stewards. Obviously, this is a very confidential committee. This information has to remain neutral and confidential. The competitions are selected by discipline, by area. The stewards represent each area of the country, and that call was held early at the end of December or early January to select the competitions to be tested for 2017, for 2018, so we can make up the schedule with the technicians, etc. The technician contracts are almost all final. We have 35, anywhere between 33 and 35 technicians that are confirmed. We are going to hold a technician seminar in a few weeks in Toronto, where all the with the goal to standardize and harmonize process and protocol in terms of selection of horses, sampling, shipping, so that the chain of custody is maintained. And this is an important activity, and technicians that work basically by themselves need to get together and compare best practice and learn standards, etc. So we're working actively on that. And finally, we work with CPMA to update, and I will follow up with the CPMA guideline updates, elimination guideline updates, which can happen through the year, but we'll continue monitoring those and advising the community of any changes that are forthcoming. Thank you. And I don't know if Shauna's there. Shauna, if you had anything to add, but that's my end of things today.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to all of our speakers and updates today. At this time, I'd like to open up the line if there's any questions for any of the speakers.
Melanie, can you tell us, or can you just tell me again when the biosecurity workshop webinars, when are they going to be released?
Yeah. So Melanie's not here, it's Chrissy, but
oh, sorry.
That's okay. She was a last-minute conflict. So
okay.
They're going to be April 14th and 15th. The 14th is going to be for veterinarians, and 15th for the general horse population. And we'll start advertising quite quickly.
Nice. Okay.
So
did you work with Jennifer Woods on that?
No, we didn't. We're in discussions with her for the emergency action planning, but we're just working with Dr. Jin Yin and Ashley Whitehead for the biosecurity, and then we will move forward with the emergency action planning in the future. We just didn't want to bunch them up too quickly together.
Right. Ashley Whitehead actually worked on the Alberta Equestrian Federation biosecurity stuff, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
Great.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
What is the plan for distributing that, if you don't mind me asking, like for getting it out to the public?
So we're going to be sending it to all our stakeholders by email internally. It'll be heavily advertised on social media. We're planning on doing a Facebook Live a couple days out where I'll sort of just go over the different aspects, reminding people to register. It'll go to our bet list, as many channels as we can get, and when it goes to stakeholders, we'll ask them to share it widely as well.
Thank you.
So if there's no other questions at this time, I will move to adjourn this. I'd like to thank everybody once again for participating